It's really tough from the stage to be able to see into the room. It gets a little bit darker as the room gets a little bit deeper, so it would help if you identified, and if you would, stand, that would be great. Our first question, we know Coach is going to come from the left side, third row.
Bob Holliday, WRL.com. Coach, in a league of great running games, Virginia Tech ranked first last year. You don't have Khalil Herbert back this year, but you do have Braxton Burmeister. What does he mean to your running game, and what do you look for from your offensive line and backs?
Well, you're right. It'll be difficult to replace Khalil. I mean, he was the source of so many big plays. I'm not sure in my coaching career if I've ever had a season where there are that many big, long runs. But in regards to Braxton, Braxton is, he'll probably get mad at me for saying this, but he's probably one of the top 3 or 4 athletes on the entire team. He'd probably say 1 or 2, but I'm going to say 3 or 4. And has played as a young player. Played some last year, and he's got a chance to be really, really explosive. We need to continue to find a way to share that load, though, out of the tailback room. I mean, Braxton's an accomplished thrower of the ball as well, so I feel better about that part of it than I have in some time. But we're going to need to find a way. I don't know that Braxton's going to be the answer to the production that we lost from the tailback position. We're going to have Jalen Holston. We're going to have Raheem Blackshear. We're going to have some young guys that I think have some real talent step in there and be able to contribute as well.
Coach, your right side, all the way to the back of the room, gentlemen standing.
Hey, Justin, Mike Barber from the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Coach Hamilton had such kind of a disjointed first year as a coordinator with COVID and the injuries. How big a stride do you expect that unit to make, and what areas do you think he's developed as a coach?
Well, I mean, I think if we've learned anything, it's that practice is actually important. And, we, like everybody else, were deprived of spring ball, but our fall camp, once the students hit town, deteriorated into survival mode really quickly. So we had no foundation, and I think that's what we've gone back to throughout the 15 practices in the spring. I like the changes we've made and the additions we've brought in to our staff, both from a recruiting standpoint and from a schematic standpoint and knowledge standpoint. And I think having John Tenuta in there to be the elder statesman has been a beneficial thing throughout the spring. I'm awfully happy that he's with us. But the thing that ultimately hurt us in a succinct way is that we could not create an identity because we had no foundation. And I think we're well on our way to establishing that foundation and creating our identity.
Coach, right there to your left in the front row.
Dan Tortora, Wake Up Call, DT.com. Coach, just assessing your 5 seasons at Virginia Tech and some change now as you step forward here, so a little over 5 years, just how you would assess that as you step into year 6.
Well, it's certainly been interesting. Each job and deal is different and unique. After our first 2 years, I had a very honest and really good conversation with Whit, our athletic director, and talked to him. We'd won 19 games in 2 years, and I said, Whit, you didn't bring me here for these past 2 years. You brought me for what we're about to go through, because I knew that we were not in good shape. We're in the process of trying to build facilities. We had some issues on our roster that were going to take some time to get through. We've now completed many of those facilities. We're now expanding our support staff for our players and recruiting, and now starting to get into having an older team. And I really felt great a year ago about exactly where we were and what we were doing and the status of our football team. A variety of factors obviously have affected that, but I still feel the same way. And I'm really excited to see this football team play and kick the season off.
Coach, from the podium, have you given yourself much time to think about how you'll feel, how you'll react to hearing Enter Sandman with a full complement of fans at Lane Stadium on September 3rd?
Well, certainly. I mean, home games in Lane Stadium are special and unique, and our fans are the best fans in all of America. And our fans show up to the game not to be entertained, but to participate, to help our football team win the ball game. And they've been deprived of that opportunity, but it's more than a game. It's a social event. People show up several days early and begin tailgating, preparing. There's friends and family members that they haven't seen, that they're all going to be back together for the very first time. And I anticipate it'll be a special night, an emotional night, and something that we'll remember for a long time.
Back to the front row to your left with Dan.
Coach, name, image, and likeness, obviously something that every team is kind of navigating through right now in each conference and in each state. How do you kind of look at name, image, and likeness, and what are you trying to say to the student athletes to guide them a little bit and have some leadership?
Well, certainly, it's uncharted waters. I think there's a lot of good that can come from this, and I think there's a lot of bad that can come from this too if we're not careful. I do not want to, and our mission with our young people is to help them capitalize on whatever special skills or talents that they may have in a way that we're allowed to help them. Certainly, we're restricted dramatically about how involved we can get. And there are some people with those special talents, and I don't think anybody feels negatively about their opportunity to go capitalize on that. I just don't want us to lose. I don't want us to lose the sight of what's important. I don't want us to lose sight of the long-term game here with our young people, and that's their education. And it doesn't mean that we can't have a good time along the way, and guys and gals can't make some money along the way, but I don't want it to take away from our long-term mission, which is the education of these young people. So we've tried to bring the focus in on that and help them. We have the software and the systems and all that sort of stuff to help them with their social media accounts. And we're in a pretty cool position. I mean, we are the #1 sports brand in the state of Virginia, in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We have 250,000 alumni that are anxious to help and engage our players in ways that are legal now, that can benefit them hopefully in the long term.
Let's keep it on your left. Go back to Bob Holliday there on the third row.
You talked about excitement of Enter Sandman on September 3rd. You play North Carolina. You've had some great shootouts with the Tar Heels the last couple of years. What are your thoughts about this really kind of emerging rivalry?
Well, when I got into the league, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure they were the reigning Coastal Division champions. And, it's a game that's surrounded by proximity and something that we've embraced since we arrived. And I know Frank and them embraced it too. We have the rivalry with Virginia, and then, there's also something there with North Carolina that should be acknowledged. And they've always had great athletes. They always have. And they've done a fine job down there, and we enjoy playing that game. It's usually a hotly contested, usually pretty well played football game that brings out the competitive juices in all of us.
On the right side again, all the way to the back of the room.
Hey, Justin, Mike again from Richmond. Speaking about the NIL stuff, have you given any thought to the dynamic in the locker room of if some guys are earning money, other guys aren't, and how that might manifest itself?
Absolutely, I've given thought to it. I mean, it's a dangerous part of it. There's all sorts of scenarios. You all can you can imagine what they are, from guys earning money that aren't playing, or guys that I should be playing and I'm not, and all sorts of the litany of that. And it's another, it's difficult. It's difficult to be a coach now. It's more difficult than it was 10 years ago, and this is another hurdle that we've got to find a way to continue to address to help keep guys together and understand how it actually works. And it's a huge piece of it.
Coach, question from the podium. Do you approach the benchmarks of the program this year differently given all of the atypical scenarios that we went through last year?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we were just holding on last year. Like, our mission was to find a way to play last year. I mean, that was, you know, we went through that early in the year, and I felt like we did everything humanly possible for us to play. And across the country, you know, there's probably people across the country that, as the year went on, did everything they could to not play. And you know, that was just how we approached it. Is we got to find a way to get this season in, and our kids did that, and they showed incredible resiliency through the entire process. And you know, most of our focus was about how can we patch this thing together so that we can have available guys so that we can go play. Certainly, hopefully, as we move forward, that will not be the case this year. That this is a case where we can focus on the more fundamental things of team and give ourselves an opportunity to win.
Anything else for Coach? Coach, if not, you are excused, and you can trade places with Braxton. Same scenario, even though you may have self-identified with Coach, if you would do the same for our student athletes, that would be a great help. And who would like the first question for our quarterback? We're going to swing it, Braxton, down here to your left, first row.
Braxton, Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. A more prominent role for you this season. How would you describe yourself as a leader, and what can you say about truly taking over this offense?
Yeah, no doubt. This offseason's really helped with that whole process, and having spring ball this year and being around my guys every single day, I think that I've really evolved as a leader and learned how to communicate better and just kind of take ownership of the whole offense. And I think the guys around me see that and are giving me that opportunity to do so.
Braxton, from the podium, West Coast football, East Coast football, what did you find as being similar, and what have you found as being different?
West Coast football, I feel like it's more speed-based, and then East Coast football has definitely been really physical and more physical.
Let's go back to our left side, third row.
Bob Holliday, WRL.com, Braxton. Coach talked about how irreplaceable Khalil was, but you've got all your receivers back, including the big guy over there. Talk about the ways that Virginia Tech's offense will be different this year. And you know, let's face it, you led the league in rushing last year, and it's a league with a lot of good running attacks.
Yeah, no, we definitely have all of our receivers back, and that's huge. James Mitchell's a big target that can go out, flex out at receiver, can play tight end, blocks really well. And Tavion Robinson and Trey Turner also have played a ton of football and get open, get separation. Whenever defense plays man coverage, they do a great job separating. So it really makes my job easy, passing them the ball. And I think that's gonna help our offense a lot and kind of set up the run game as well.
Braxton, to your right, fifth row.
Ewan McCreath, Herb FM Sports Radio. You just touched on the receivers in your previous comment, but can you talk to me about how important it is to build the chemistry since you've kind of been away and to develop that heading into an opening game where there could be a lot of points scored?
Yeah, chemistry is a huge deal, and especially this offseason, being able to get with the guys, that's something that we've communicated often. And we get out there, we have skills and drills, which is player run practice 2 times a week, and then some of our guys try to get together another 2 times a week, and so we're really throwing 4 times a week, and I think it's really going to benefit us and show throughout the season.
Braxton, from the podium, your body language on the field indicates a great deal of confidence. What contributes to you being confident as a quarterback for the Hokies?
Our coaches do a great job of having us ready to go, and it's kind of like walking into a test, and if you know the answers to the test before the test starts, you're going to feel confident and you're going to be relaxed and ready to roll, and that's kind of how I feel going into games.
Question from the floor for our quarterback. We're going to go to the right side, all the way in the back. Hard right in the back there, Braxton.
EJ Manuel, ACC Network. Braxton, what was your biggest emphasis once you got into spring ball that you wanted to work on from last year coming into this season?
Definitely getting more comfortable with our receivers and building that chemistry and building timing. And we throw a lot of timing routes, a lot of quick outs, a lot of 10-yard outs, and feeling comfortable to really rip those outs and throw them hard and just being on time with the guys.
Anything else for Braxton? All right, Braxton, thank you. Let's switch places with James. James, you are up. Under the bright lights, James Mitchell. Tight end for Virginia Tech. First question for James. Who would like it today? Let's go right side, James.
Ewan McCreath, Herb FM, Sports Radio. James, fantastic year last year, but I'm interested in what you did in the offseason to make you an even better and more effective tight end this season.
Yeah, first off, I had a lot of weight to my frame just since the end of last season. I've gained about 8 to 10 pounds. I'm running well. I'm strong as I've ever been. So, you know, that was a huge part of me coming back, was continuing to get stronger. And, you know, because I play down there in the trenches, so continue to be able to block those guys on the line. And also, you know, just working on my routes. I try to do a lot of things for the offense, so being able to, you know, go out there and run routes against DBs and safeties, that's also something I've tried to focus on.
James, to your left there in the first row.
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. James, just what you can say about the offense under Braxton, the confidence that you have in him, and maybe defining his leadership as you step into the season.
Yes, sir. I would say one thing about him, he's definitely a confident player. When he steps in the huddle, he's calm, he's cool, and he's collected. He knows how to get guys behind him and play for him. And, you know, since we had a full spring and a full summer, he's really stepped up with his communicating and, you know, just trying to lead guys and stuff like that. And he came in last year against Clemson late, started the season and came in against Clemson and UVA. And, you know, I thought we played really well at the end there with him at the quarterback.
Let's go back to the third row to your left.
Bob Holliday, WRL.com, James. Talk about the importance of the time that you and Braxton have gotten to, and the other receivers have gotten to spend together. What will the difference be that, you know, you've had an off season now, you've had spring. When it's third down and crunch time, what part does chemistry play in getting that first down?
Oh, it plays a huge part, kind of like y'all was talking about earlier, the timing of the routes and everything, getting together over the summer and just being able to throw all the time during spring ball, getting a full spring helped out a lot, and just really building that trust in one another that, you know, on those crucial third downs that, you know, he can trust me and I'm going to make that play and I'm going to trust him to make that throw.
James, let's go back to EJ in the very back to the right.
Yeah, EJ Manuel, ACC Network. James, when you watch the NFL game, who would you compare your game after? I think you remind me of Travis Kelce, the way you come out the backfield, but who would you say you model your game after when you watch tape of the NFL guys?
I would say I have thought Travis Kelce, also Darren Waller, who plays for the Raiders, a guy that can go out there and flex and play by himself at the X and, you know, just do different stuff. And, you know, tight ends become a position where you have to do that stuff, and a lot of guys in the NFL do that. So, you know, for me, I think the biggest thing for me this year is taking things from a lot of those guys, George Kittle, Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, just taking little things from each of those guys and try to implement it in my game for the next level.
James, hard left there in the first row.
Tyler Everett, Sports Business Journal. On NIL, have you spoken with any brands about that, and also, and/or, you know, just your approach to that and your thoughts on the possibilities that are there?
I have not spoken to any brands yet on that. I have had some people reach out, but it's just not something. It's something that I might be interested in, just not something I've taken the time to do yet. Right now, football and finishing up my degree has been my main focus. But definitely maybe something that I'll look forward to or look into when the season starts, maybe.
Anything else for James? Hearing or seeing none. James, thank you very much. We can switch places with Shamari. Thank you. Shamari Connor will finish us out for Virginia Tech during this session. Our DB joins us at the podium. Who would like the first question for Shamari? We will start right side, 5th row. Right side, sir.
Ewan McCreath, Herb FM Sports Radio. Shamari, I got to tell you, 60 solo tackles. Unbelievable. Tell me about the pride you take not only in tackling, but getting the guy down on your own.
I take a lot of pride in tackling, of course. I think it's more about me always trying to get to the ball, be the first one at the ball, just running full speed, always trying to get the ball out, anything, just things like that.
On your left there, Shamari, 1st row.
Shamari, Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. As one of the returning starters in the secondary, just what you can say about the back of the Virginia Tech defense, how you assess the entire secondary as you step into 2021.
I'm very excited for our secondary, actually. We got a lot of guys back. We got a lot of guys that got a lot of experience over the last year. And, we got a lot of guys moving around. We got a lot of depth, much more depth in our safeties room, in our cornerbacks room. I'm just excited to get started.
Shamari, we'll stay on the left side, this time the 3rd row.
Shamari, Bob Holliday, WRL.com. Last year, the Hokies ranked 10th in scoring defense and 12th in total defense. I think pass defense was also 12th. Those are not Virginia Tech quality numbers. How do you get better defensively? What has to happen for Virginia Tech to get off the field more often this year?
Last year it was a lot going on with, really every team. So I would say we just got to come back. We got a lot of guys back. A lot of guys missed a lot of games last year, had to sit out. A lot of young guys got thrown in the fire, had to play. And I think that actually helped us in the long run. A lot of guys picked up experience, and that's really it.
Shamari, from the podium, you've worn Coach Beamer's number 25 jersey twice in your career. What has that meant to you?
It means a lot. We take a lot of pride in special teams, Beamer ball, so it means a lot to be acknowledged and for the coaches to choose to put me in the 25.
Questions from the floor for Shamari? Shamari, back to the podium. When we look at video of you and still photographs, you seem to have both a business side of you on the field, but also you're not scared in showing that big flashy smile. Given that you seem to be having so much fun, what is it about you that propels the business side and that big smile?
I think when I step on the field, it's always business, of course. I always try to have fun with my guys, especially at practice, Don't want to have nobody down. We always try to make it fun, make it exciting. So I carry that into the games as well.
Thank you. Back to the right side in the 5th row with Ewan.
Shamari, you open up against North Carolina, an extremely explosive offense. Can you talk about some of the challenges that you'll face against Sam Howell and the Tar Heels?
They're a very talented team. I haven't really gotten into it all the way yet. I've been focusing on the summer. But, we'll get there when we get there.
Shamari, your last question coming from the podium. Last year, 81 tackles, 60 solo tackles. That is impressive. So describe how last season's numbers and performance gets you ready for this year.
It got me prepared a lot for this year, for me to see what I could do last year, lead some of the leagues and tackles. And, it's just been exciting for me to get ready for next season.
Virginia Tech, thank you very much. Have a great season. Folks, North Carolina is due up in the room next.